Okay, it's just gone 10 o'clock, so good morning and assalamu alaikum to all our guests. Thank you for joining the launch of the Muslim Mind Collaborative, together with our partners Markfield Institute of Higher Education and Mind in the City, where we mark Time to Talk Day by talking about faith-sensitive approaches to mental health and well-being. So my name's Saba Gilani and I'm the Chief Exec at the Better Community Business Network. And to begin, I need to start with some house rules. So please ensure that your mics are muted throughout the event. Any questions or comments that you might have, please use the chat box. There will be a short
Saba, you're muted.
Okay, am I unmuted now? I think I was. Can you hear me now? Yeah, sorry, I was going through some house rules. So yes, if everyone can please keep their mics on mute, there'll be a short question and answer session at the end. So we'll be using some of the points that you put up on your on the chat section to share with our partners. So the Muslim Mind Collaborative launch event is being recorded and we'll feature this in our first podcasts. Finally, you can tweet about the event using our social handle at @MuslimMind_UK. So I've been a part of BCBN for almost 9 years, and the best part of my job is the proactive approach to identifying and curating our supported causes. Over the years, we've sought to further support in areas of mentorship, refugee crisis, knife crime, rehabilitation, fostering and adoption, to name a few. Much of our work in the sector has been to create faith and cultural inclusive programs and support networks, increasing awareness, access, representation and engagement of hard to reach communities. So in the last few years, our focus has been on mental health and well-being, and we've taken an informed approach, inviting service providers, experts, and those with lived experience to help create a manifesto for Muslim mental health collaboration. This helped form a landmark piece of research, our Hidden Survivors Report, highlighting the need to address the causes of poor health outcomes amongst minority ethnic groups by tackling structural racism and negative experiences that deter Muslims from accessing services, as well as the importance of faith and cultural sensitive services to improve health outcomes. And we know that 90% of service users we surveyed said it was important for mental health support to be faith and culturally sensitive. And this has been fundamental to the work we're doing today, creating a platform for all support services to better understand and address the needs of Muslim communities. So we're delighted to announce that our partners, Markfield Institute and Mind in the City, who play a unique role in upholding an academic and communities perspective for the strategic direction of the Muslim Mind Collaborative. So Mind in the City, Hackney and Waltham Forest have supported better mental health for diverse communities in East London for over 40 years, providing a broad range of services, including peer support, economic inclusion, and award-winning cultural literate psychological therapies. The organisation works in partnership with around 50 other organisations a year to improve access and outcomes for people experiencing mental distress. And the Markfield Institute of Higher Education has been running for over 2 decades. Since its inception, it has been driven by the unique purpose of carrying out objective and critical studies of Islam and Muslims, and to provide alternative perspectives and insights into emerging contemporary issues and strategies to address them. The Centre for the Study of Muslim Wellbeing has been set up to take this work further, focusing on developing and bringing to light the expertise of the communities through academia and research. So today's session will give you further insights into the collaborative and how you can be a part of this journey of change. And Shireen Ali Khan, who is the project manager, will present the Muslim Mind Collaborative strategy and 2022 roadmap. Thank you, Shireen.
Thank you, Saba. Hello, assalamu alaikum to everybody. Yes, I'm Shireen Ali Khan. I've got the real privilege of leading the MMC, and as you can see, already working with some great people. I've got a background of change management and program management, and in the last few years, I've really put myself into the mental health and wellbeing space. So again, a real privilege to learn from people, but also to help make an impact as well. I'll be talking you through our strategy, and I'll start with our vision and purpose. So it's to embark on a journey with our partners in ensuring access to appropriate mental health and wellbeing support for Muslim communities across the UK, to build a world where everyone has a quality of life and pathways to health. How we're looking to do that is through our values. So compassion towards the communities that we serve, empowerment for practitioners and service users in seeking faith-sensitive mental health and wellbeing support, respect for everybody's unique experiences and the need towards healing, and collaboration, understanding simply we're stronger together, and inspiration, that is within our power to change things for the better. So the programme focus and the objectives that I'll go through today have all derived from the Muslim Mind Collaborative Stakeholder Community Consultation Survey, where 35 organisations participated. And here are just some of the sectors that participated and were a part of this. So if we look through some of the stats, you can see the 35% in the green were third sector organisations. If I look at the 21%, they were Muslim or Muslim-led organisations. We've got the 15% around academic groups, the 18% were mental health professional groups, and then we've got the 6% around statutory and public health service providers, and the 3% were business and employment services. So a real mix there, but you can start seeing some trends as to who was wanting to engage with this piece of work here. There are loads of insights that came from the research. Some of those you will be able to find online. A few that we picked out for today are really around the 46% that wanted to, thought that community networks would benefit their organisation and their service as a form of support. So really acknowledging that there's an existing gap there. 71% thought that partnerships and collaborative opportunities would benefit their organisational service as a form of support. And 46% recognised that faith played a valued and powerful tool in supporting or managing mental health struggles, as well as developing effective strategies for resilience and recoveries. So really big stats, they're really kind of strong themes that came out as to how we can really implement and impact our work. So our focus for 2022, we split, but based on themes. So we've got our education focus, which is around the improvement of faith literacy in mental health services. And this includes things like faith data, specialist research, training toolkits, really kind of, I say impactful, but usable things. The policy agenda, which is around building upon relevant policy narratives and recommendations to enhance advocacy and mental health service improvement. This includes things like representation, recruitment policies, and really kind of getting this up the national agenda and making sure that it's kind of understood. And then lastly, around funding. So this includes identifying and supporting the funding gap agenda, but also creating opportunities. So understanding perhaps the role of charities or philanthropists within this agenda and really kind of picking it apart. So with that, I have the pleasure of handing over to Lynette Charles, who's the Chief Executive of Mind in Harrogate and the Chair of Mind in London. Over to you, Lynette.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. And I'm really excited to be part of this collaborative, and what a good day to start talking about such a collaborative on Time to Talk Day. So as it says there, I'm Lynette Charles. I'm the Chief Executive of Mind in Harrogate, and Harrogate also is a borough of lots of diversity, so very keen and interested in how we can bring some of this work to my borough. And I'm also the chair of Mind in London. And I suppose the reason that I'm here today is my vice chair, Vanessa, is the chief exec of Mind in City, Hackney and Waltham Forest, and has excitedly talked about this work and shares it with the other local minds in London. Sorry, can I have the next slide? And I'll just give a little bit of background. So Mind in London is actually 17 of the local minds that represent the London boroughs. So we've got a mind in Hammersmith, Fulham, Hounslow, Ealing, Camden, Islington, any borough of London. We hope that if we are not based in that borough, that we will absolutely offer services to those that live there. The Mind in London collaborative, I suppose we call ourselves, is a mixture of small local minds and much larger. And I think as a collective, we reach over 34,000 people in London a year and growing in response to the adverse impact that the pandemic has had on our racialized communities, recognizing that our Muslim community and colleagues are part of those communities. The other thing that Mind in London is able to do is have a stronger collective voice, ensuring that those in power think about those that live in London in particular. And then later on, I can share what we could do across the Mind Federation. We're independent and built on sustained but grassroots lived experience. So actually, as part of Mind in London, we have a lived experience advisory group that is with us every step of the way. They helped us develop our strategy. They inform and advise us. They attend conferences and other influencing platforms with us to affect change. Mind in City, Hackney and Waltham Forest has been working in one of the areas with the highest Muslim populations in London, and is very, I suppose in one sense, ahead of some of the other local minds who may feel that they have smaller communities. I would argue that no matter how big or small your Muslim community is, you need to be thinking how you reach them. Mind in City, Hackney and Waltham Forest also has an award-winning specialist cultural specific therapy service, IRE Mind, and lots of partnerships with their voluntary and community sector. Gaps in access to our Muslim clients means that we need to be striving for better outcomes, and we need to ensure that what we're offering as Mind organizations is focused service using, and I know they do in City and Hackney, Islamic psychologists. So we would like to learn from that, and all of us offer better for those Muslim community that live in London. Next slide, please. So what does Mind in London bring? Well, I hope some of us have actually been in our respective organizations sometimes for over 10 or 15 years leading that organization. We've got a real passion for mental health. So I hope what we can bring to this collaborative is expertise in mental health and mental health well-being around awareness, language, and work closely to ensure that we make that as accessible as possible to the Muslim community, also in languages that speak to that community. We've got knowledge of communities and their needs. And that is because a lot of the work that we do with other grassroots organizations in our respective areas, we value lived experience. Mind actually was born out of the closing down of asylums and people who had come back into the community, gathering together. So a lot of Mind organizations like Mind in Haringey, we started as a lived experience group meeting in a church. So we really value lived experience. And the other thing that I hope Mind in London can bring to this collaborative is we are culturally agile and experimental, and we're open-hearted, understanding that whatever we don't know, that we are eager to learn and also to support others in this space. Next slide, please. So the work so far, and I don't want to claim this work because I know that Vanessa has been working alongside the colleagues, Shireen, Sabah and others. Well, we're supporting the developing governance, supporting the developing priorities for quick wins, approaches to building learning exchanges and partnerships. And I really hope that we can make full use of Mind in London and the Federation, and using our platform to get the word out around the Muslim Mind Collaborative and really encouraging others to join us. As Shireen said earlier, our strength is in collaboration with other grassroots organizations, etc. I think there might be a next slide. We're over to Markfield. Brilliant. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening.
Thank you so much, Lynette. And Rapanara Chowdhury, Dr. Rapanara Chowdhury is our head of MIHE, Markfield Institute of Higher Education Centre for the Study of Wellbeing. And I always love hearing our speakers speak. So a real privilege to hear Lynette and also to now hand over to Dr. Rapanara.
Thank you, Shireen. Good morning, everyone, and assalamu alaikum. It's a real pleasure to be here this morning and to be working alongside some absolutely fantastic partners. If we could go to the first slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so in terms of a bit of background information regarding the Markfield Institute of Higher Education, so we've been operational for about 20 years, well, just over 20 years actually. We are providers of validated both undergraduate and postgraduate degrees, and also numerous other professional courses, including the very well-known chaplaincy certification. We have an objective of having critical studies of Islam and Muslims, and to provide alternative perspectives and insights into emerging contemporary issues, and really looking at strategies, innovative strategies of how to address them. So there's lots of different initiatives that we have at the Markfield Institute. One of those that we've recently set up is the Centre for the Study of Wellbeing. Next slide, please, Shireen. So in terms of the Centre for the Study of Wellbeing, we have two objectives. First of all, it's to carry out research relating to contemporary wellbeing related matters, but with a real focus on creating impact within communities, basically for the positive benefit of all. And what we're trying to do is what we've seen is a richness in our communities and real expertise, but often we're lacking the funding and the structural kind of frameworks in order to harness that expertise and really share that expertise. So what we're trying to do is marry up that grassroots expertise with the academia and the research in order to highlight and share this expertise within our communities, and not just within our communities, but actually further afield, looking at service provision, both sort of locally, but also nationally, and potentially thinking about international translations as well. So in relation to this, one of the things we've been working on recently is a research project carried out with the Lantern Initiative, who's a grassroots organisation in Peterborough, and I believe Sephora is here today with us. So what we were doing there was very much about highlighting the excellent work that was already being done by the Lantern Initiative. So it was very much led by the Lantern Initiative, but there were several partners involved in contributing to the research aspect and then writing up that research. And the research focused on what the gaps and barriers were in terms of mental health provision. So we hope by bringing this kind of what the expertise at the grassroots level, joining it up with academia, and then bringing to light what's going on at a community level, then means that we're able to pave the way in terms of funding and increase structural kind of frameworks to really facilitate communities being able to work at their maximum potential, but also with national structures as well. So that's in terms of our role here with this project. We're really hoping to be able to bring this academic kind of element to work with lots of different organisations who hold so much richness, and to really have that partnership going so that we can all utilise our skills for the benefit of all. Thank you.
Jazakallah, thank you so much, Manara. And I'm hoping that people can see the real range of partners that we're working with and the real range of expertise we're bringing in here. And that's something that we at BCBN and the MMC can bring together, is that is that collaborative aspect. And we understand that we're not the academic experts, but we've got people that we can work with. And likewise, you know, of course, working with Lynette and Vanessa and the MIND locals and nationally, it's around bringing in the right people. And so we've brought this table together, and I'm just really kind of amazed to see all the people already doing good work in this space. So here I'll talk a little bit about exactly what those collaborative work streams are, and importantly actually how people can get involved. So people that are here, sorry, I'm going to cough all the way through this. I've got this post-COVID cough that's going to niggle me today. Excuse me. But how you can get involved, and the people that haven't been able to make it to the call today, like, please keep shouting about this, and just everyone, you know, kind of come and play. So as you can see here, we've got the BCBN at the top of this hierarchy, as our kind of parent company, and then we have the MMC, and feeding into that are our partners, and then feeding into that are our members. And this is where the opportunity, you know, opens up to people from a range of organisations, range of expertise, and also a range of gaps. So we want to be able to kind of, you know, help to fill and plug those gaps as well. So directly below that, you'll see those three areas around the education piece, the funding piece, and the policy piece that I described earlier. And within these are steering groups, and within these are more kind of functional task force that will actually help us to deliver those aspects. So here there are lots of opportunity for people to get involved. And if that's something you do want to do, and if you haven't done the first bit around filling out the survey, then please visit the website to do that. And that's like almost like the entry into this conversation is understanding where you sit within the agenda, what some of your kind of wins and worries and wishes might be. And that allows us to understand a bit more about how we can help you. And then absolutely we can plug ourselves into these various areas. But I'm hoping you can kind of feel the excitement and see just how cool it is what we're trying to achieve. So I'll go into some more of the some of the more tangibles and the real roadmap for this year. And we're ambitious as we want to be. So for this year, some of the priorities that we have are around the steering group. So what I described in the page just earlier. This is actually working with subject specialists who will inform the delivery of the MMC. Then we have a matching process, which is all around supporting organisations in their journeys and engaging and learning through partner relationships and mentoring. That's what's really key there. It's about that two-way flow and that relationship and that mentoring that we really want to kind of help harness and help to grow. We have our website, which we're hoping it will be a one-stop shop for the Muslim community to access faith-sensitive mental health and wellbeing support and be signposted and really just everything to live in one space. That's something we found is a real gap. We've got podcasts, bringing together practitioners, subject area specialists and service users to talk about their lived experiences and to really kind of bring that to, the whole podcast theme is around that casual and that kind of more informal approach. And that's really where we hope you can have those really quite raw conversations and really kind of hit things in a really real space. Then we've got our toolkit. So as I briefly mentioned earlier, around the faith and culturally sensitive educational resources that will absolutely be produced in collaboration with our partners. And then lastly, but as we know, never lastly, is around the impact and the legacy of everything that we're looking to achieve. And we think that, we know actually through the MMC, we're going to measure our impact and leave a legacy of appropriate mental health and wellbeing support, which is absolutely fundamental to our vision and to our values as well. And again, yeah, if you want to join in, and if you haven't filled out that first survey, please click on the link that it was in the comms that we sent through. It'll be on other social media, but go to our website and fill out that survey if you haven't. And if you have, then there'll be opportunities to get involved. With that, I will remind people, please now, if you've got any questions, put them into the chat if you haven't already. And we're now going to open up to our speakers and to yourselves for any questions that you might have. I will, because I'm talking already, I'll get the ball rolling and I'll bring in Lynette and Rahmanara. So Rahmanara, the first question I'm going to throw to yourself, please. And really, I was just really excited to, as you know, to have you on board with the MMC. And I would really welcome your thoughts at this stage as to how the partnership could support the delivery of faith-sensitive training. When we know, looking at the stats, 66% of people had said they listed this as an area of interest. How would this look, and what value can MIHE bring into this and supporting these opportunities?
Thanks for that, Shireen. So when I look at what happens at a grassroots level and how hard organisations work to meet the real needs in the communities, and then I see what happens on an academic level and what's happening at a policy level, and there's a real gap there. And I think one of the things MIHE is very uniquely placed to do is to bring in expertise, not just from one field. And every time I go to work, I'm always like blown away by the different areas of expertise that we have. And it's not just from our academic staff. Actually, when you look at our student cohort as well, you know, you've got individuals who run institutions, you've got individuals who are running grassroots organizations, individuals working in research and academia. So we've got a really broad range of expertise. And actually, so that's what I'm hoping to do at the centre of the Study for Wellbeing, to bring people together, bring them around the table, start building those networks in order to really harness the expertise that is available within the community. But like I said, we don't always have the funding or the frameworks to support it. And then through that, bring in certainly the academic and the research kind of expertise to showcase what's happening, to identify gaps, to build on strengths that we already have, and demonstrate that not just to the Muslim community, but actually to the wider, broader society as well. And I think it is when you get your voice heard at that level, that's when people start to realise actually that's a service, that's a community, you know, that's a level of expertise within the community that we need to really work with and start to understand. So really that's what I'm hoping to help in terms of those collaborations, but bring in the academic and research expertise to that.
Wonderful, thank you so much for that. It was really, it's really interesting to hear, and it's, for me, from a personal perspective, it's really interesting to see exactly the different layers that our partners are bringing to this, and that just, you're right, like it's not just a one-stop, we just do this, that one thing. Actually, you've got so many stakeholders involved, and it makes it just really special as to what we can achieve. And you know, in a way, sometimes it's a bit overwhelming because you think, oh, we can do everything, but we know that with MMC, this is very much the long-term narrative, and so, you know, showcasing what we have on the roadmap, we're being really specific and targeted, so we do achieve things, but we just know the opportunities are endless. So I feel like the impact is, it can be a generational thing, which is ultimately what we want, is to create that healing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Wonderful, thank you so much, Zakala. And Lynette, I'll throw a question over to yourself, please. So as we know, the work of Mind is really inspiring, and I've loved hearing about how you're built with the lived experience. That's something that really, you know, jumped out to me, and certainly understanding the needs for the targeted approach in achieving these outcomes. So as we know, the MMC is a collaboration with different locations across the UK. So what advice and encouragement can you give our members as to how we can make this collaborative a really national agenda on mental health?
Yeah, I think just thinking about Mind itself. So we are a federated model. So that just means that a lot of passionate people have joined and become local Mind. So I think across the country, currently, we have 120 local Minds, everywhere from, trying to think of a city up north, Hull, right the way down to Plymouth. And what that means is that once we start to learn about an area of work, then we can share that with all of those local Minds. We have various ways we do that as a federation. And really exciting is that Mind has already made a commitment around the work that we do going forward. And our 3 priority areas are racialized communities. All local Minds across the country have to prioritize reaching out to their communities and working alongside them under that agenda. We know we can't do it on our own. The other priority that Mind have is around poverty. And again, when I think about our Muslim community and I think of places that I've visited across this country, often we find those communities in the most deprived parts of our country, and then adversely affected by things like the economy, the resources, etc. So I'm really excited about this collaboration and us doing this work together, because we can share that across the federation. We can really champion this work. And the other element that Mind does is that our what we call national Mind campaigns and influences for change. So as much as we can share from that kind of bottom up approach, you know, we are experts in this area. This is what we need to do, not just on a service level, but where is the resources? Where is the investment in this work? So I'm really excited about our collaborative, because I think that we can make that change that for some of us we've known needed to happen for many years, to be able to ensure that when we offer mental health services in any area, that we're actually reaching the communities that are most adversely affected by the way we organize our society. So really excited to do this work alongside our colleagues here, and learn from each other, really open to that. I think it brings more expertise in all areas if you're open to really learning, really hearing. So really excited if we can create a toolkit, what that website will look like, what any training or awareness would look like under that, and really keen to support that in whichever way we need to. So very committed from Mind to this work.
Thank you so much, Lynette. And it's really interesting to hear all the layers that are, you know, involved into making this agenda, into tackling it in the right way. And a question that's coming that I've seen from Nadeem, and actually relates a little bit to what you've you know, kind of pinpointed, Lynette, but also around I guess our clients and the end users and how we can engage with them. So I'll happily open this up to Lynette. Saba, if you'd like to jump in, also Rapanara, if you know, if you feel it's appropriate. But I really like this from Nadeem. So he's asked, he said, "Hi all, thank you for an insightful and compassionate space in the talk today." Thank you, Nadeem. And he said, "I just wondered what your thoughts were around how we can ensure that mental health services are culturally aware or sensitive when Muslims are attempting to access them. And I quite like this question because it's more about the user, because we know we've got the specialists here in the room. But actually, Lynette, from a mind perspective, it'd be interesting to see what your thoughts were there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking, I'll give an example of my borough, because obviously as a CEO, at the chair of Mind in London, but on the ground, we actually offer services every day in Haringey. I say that what we try to do here is actually realize that what we might be offering might not be something that people can access. And instead, what we've done is we started to partner with grassroots organizations in our borough, start to actually support them in the work that they do to access their community, and then inform them of the services, and also listen for the things that need to change. And the wonderful thing about us as an organization is we can influence. We sit at the table of those that are making the decisions around how service operate in our borough. So we can be kind of the middleman between the grassroots organizations that hold their expertise and have access to the community and trust. I think the other thing as well is that a lot of the services trust has been broken in the way that they have supported some of these communities. And what we want to do is build back that trust by being the middleman between the grassroots organizations and the statutory services that have often let these communities down very badly, and rebuild that. Make sure that we honor what those people have experienced and listen to what they have experienced. So I think our approach is a little bit, let's work with the people that know what they're doing. We don't have to do it all at Mind, but we can share our resources, our learning and influence, because we sit in a position to be able to do that. Hope that's helpful.
No, that is, thank you. And Raphael, did you have anything on that? Although I think the next question I might charge both of you with this one. So let me know, Raphael, if there's anything on that specific one to add.
Yeah, actually, so I was just thinking from the academic perspective, and if I look at the recent work we did with the Lantern Initiative, this idea of actually conducting research with those grassroots organisations and then raising the awareness at higher levels, because it's when you get to policy making and then how literally academia feeds into the policy making, which then feeds into where the funding is streamed, basically. So to have your voice at the table there, I think is really, really important. And I think, again, it's that holistic picture of everyone working together to create that overall kind of difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. And I'm just going back to our values around understanding that we are stronger together through that collaborative piece, but also that inspiration, which is, you know, we can make a difference, we can make a change. And yeah, you have to start from somewhere, you know, completely get that. And we're working with the right people who've been in the sector for a while and kind of know their people really well, but we're identifying where these gaps are. And it just brings me to another question around the impact of Islamophobia on mental health. And we know that we did the survey, that was a huge statistic around people either not wanting to access services, or once they do, there's a huge blocker there, because all of a sudden you've got this label. So how would either of you, and you know, I've got my own personal and professional opinions on this, but be interesting to know kind of Lynette and Rapanara, what your thoughts are on that in particular.
Do you want to go first, Lynette?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to look for that button. I would say that we're very aware of that. I think that what's happened during the pandemic actually is it's really put a spotlight on the things that haven't been working, and they haven't been working for a long time. So I think what that's done is really opened up the ears of some of the statutory services that can no longer, I suppose, hide away, refer to our communities as hard to reach or hard to engage, and kind of blame people for the fact that the services that they're often offered come with a tinge of discrimination or stereotypes about what those people need, and not treat people as an individual. No matter what you might see from the outside, everybody's an individual. Their journey to mental health well-being or recovery is going to be very individual. So I think that we've got a great opportunity at the moment to hold those people to account, to affect the change that they know needs to be made, and really listen to the people that have experienced those services, because any form of discrimination does not help your mental health recovery. If anything, it gives you another layer, another thing that you have to deal with on top of the fact that you might be struggling with your mental health. So yeah, I think that this is a really good opportunity to start holding those people to account to affect the change. I mean, in a lot of meetings that I'm in, I hear about co-production. Co-production means that you really have to listen to the people that utilize your services and be open that there has to be change. And I'm often reminding them, what do they think co-production means? So I'm really hoping that we are going to utilize that opportunity to affect the change, particularly in the borough that I'm in, but even more widely.
So I'm going to draw in my doctoral research here. So I was looking at domestic violence and abuse in the UK Muslim population. And as a result of my research and my findings, what I've managed to develop is a model looking at how domestic violence and abuse occurs in the UK Muslim population. I've currently just completed writing a paper for that, which I hope to submit for publication soon. So hopefully, I hope that will come out sort of in the next year. But one of the things that I found within my research was this idea, like you were saying, that of layered kind of barriers. And actually what happens at the macro level, so within the higher structures in society, completely filters down right through the communities and at the individual level, and really does shape then not just their, I don't know if I would say willingness, but their ability to actually engage with systems and services, because they already at the individual level, they're experiencing so many barriers. Then you get to the community level, they're experiencing another range of barriers. Then you get to society level, and then you get to the macro structural levels, and you've got a wider narrative that before they can even think about seeking help, they've already got all of these issues that, just like Islamophobia, basically, really putting them off in terms of seeking support. And it's not just for that individual. What tends to happen in close-knit communities as well is that you have additional stakeholders who are involved in situations like domestic violence and abuse, but also in generic mental health issues as well. And it may be that the stakeholders are so traumatized basically by what the narratives that they're seeing, the negativity, the stereotyping, the prejudices, that they then say to the individual who needs support that actually, no, it's better not to speak up because there's already this and this and this against our community, so let's not add more to that basket, kind of thing. So yeah, I completely agree with what you were saying, Lynette. There's just levels and layers of barriers. But I think in terms of, okay, so how do we move forward? It's about creating that awareness, because actually when you start to talk to people from different areas and different professions, there are some people who genuinely aren't aware. Like I've shared some of my own experiences, and my colleagues are really shocked that I've had to experience these things, and yet to me they're just completely normal. So I think creating that awareness at those levels is really important, because there are lots of people who support change, but because they're not aware of then how do you support that change. So yeah, I think there's lots of work that's happening in this area, and that will continue to unfold as well.
Thank you so much, Rapana. Yeah, that's so true, and it's that lived experience that is helping to inform a lot of what we're developing. And just speaking, personally, there are all these assumptions. As a female, as a Muslim female, there's all these other narratives that you have to hold. And when you speak to other people, you think, oh, that's not normal. Okay, I shouldn't be made to feel like that. Oh, right, I get it. And yeah, the more that we speak about these experiences, the more we realize what is acceptable, what isn't acceptable, and actually how we can impact society as a whole to make that change. Just understand we're all just people. I think at the end of the day, we're all just trying to get through it all. So how can we support one another through love and through understanding? And I hope this is that journey, at least for us. I just wanted to kind of remind people that obviously everything that we're doing is based on us as a collaborative. So all of our approaches are all kind of led by and informed by our members. So please do reach out and be a part of this. And I've seen lots of comments come through. Really excitedly, people want to feed in. So that's absolutely amazing to see. And as part of our post-event comms, we will be sending out something a bit more formal that says actually where do you want to partner in, because we're all about action. So this is part of that first conversation of awareness raising and absolutely linking in with time for talk, which is a great opportunity, and we're taking that opportunity to talk, right? So we're absolutely doing that. I will just share the screen that I had a moment ago. Ta-da, hopefully it's there. And just to remind people that these are just some of the areas where we can get involved. So the steering groups, the matching, the website, which we really hope will be a home for lots of research, lots of other kind of signposting of resources, but there's real, one-stop shop where everything has a home. And it's exactly that. I've accessed services myself, and the first thing you're having to do is to justify that you're Muslim, but you're also a person. So it's like, if we can have all of this in a home somewhere, I think that's great, because ultimately it's about creating change and creating a difference in people's lives. And when you Google, I'm a Muslim and I need help, actually, where do you get to? So just those kind of really simple things, but actually have a really big impact. So we're hoping that website is this slick space for all of that. And the podcast. So part of today's event is where we're launching this as part of our podcast series as well. So we're really, as I said, all about action. If you've got thoughts and feelings around what the podcasts could look like, even, that is in our post-event comms. Tell us all this stuff. And the toolkits, and of course the overall impact and legacy. There's lots there. I don't know if there are any more questions in the chat. When I looked through, there weren't any more. But this isn't the end of the conversation. This is just the beginning. And with that, I can see we're just about to time. We'll let you have a few minutes before you go to your 11 o'clock meetings. But thank you so much for your time today. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope it's been a good space to share. And inshallah, we'll send out some post-event comms, and I look forward to talking more with you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.